Ok, what's up team, j'espère que ça roule. Aujourd'hui, on se retrouve encore une fois. Bon, j'espère que vous allez mettre la vidéo parce qu'on est dans un cadre assez exceptionnel. On se retrouve à Lisbonne Strong, qui est un gym de malade. Il y a un petit peu de vent, j'espère que ça ne s'entendra pas. J'avais vraiment envie de le faire à l'extérieur celui-là parce que l'environnement est incroyable et qu'on aurait pu le faire directement dans la maison ou quoi, mais je trouvais ça boring. Le cadre est dingue, on est au milieu d'un stade de rugby en turf, enfin c'est magnifique. Et derrière nous, il y a le gym, là où on s'est entraîné. C'est assez ouf. Et en fait, je suis avec Tom. Tom, il a déjà apparu dans le podcast une fois où il avait raconté un petit peu son histoire tout autour du monde. Et c'est en anglais parce que c'est un Australien et il parle pas français. Et du coup, on va repasser sur un épisode complètement en anglais. Vous me le demandez pas mal d'ailleurs et ça vous aide dans votre apprentissage, dans la compréhension de la langue, etc. Donc c'est cool parce qu'en plus de ça, il a un accent australien. Ça vous permet de le travailler, de le réécouter. Et je trouve que c'est cool pour pratiquer, d'autant que vous avez un français en face. Donc en fait, j'avais pas pensé au début parce qu'on avait prévu de venir quelques jours sur Lisbonne histoire de découvrir un petit peu la ville. Et en fait, il lui est arrivé une couille monstrueuse. En termes de santé, moi, ça m'a choqué. Et ça m'a tellement choqué que je me suis dit, tu sais quoi, on va en discuter parce que même si ça dure pas très longtemps, ça dure, je sais pas, une demi-heure, trois quarts d'heure, tu peux expliquer tout ce qui s'est passé au sein de cette mésaventure, en fait, parce que littéralement, du jour au lendemain, il lui est arrivé un truc monstrueux. Et c'est ouf. On va parler un peu des produits qu'il utilise si tu veux, mais en fait ça n'a rien à voir et c'est ça qui est assez hallucinant, c'est que ça n'a strictement rien à voir avec ça et moi ça m'a choqué. Donc sur ce, je vais arrêter de parler français, comme ça on va switcher direct en anglais et let's switch in English, right? Because I'm pretty sure you got everything I just said.
Yep, completely understood.
Is the mic working? Yeah,
it looks like it.
Yeah, there's a little green.
Absolutely understood everything you said. Bonjour, ça va, et toi?
So yeah, Big T, so you went on the podcast once, explained the whole story around the world, very entertaining, inspiring actually, very cool little childhood you had.
Yeah.
And about a month ago, something real bad happened to you. You nearly died.
Nearly died.
Because I remember, because you've always been super like dodgy in a sense that sometimes we don't hear about you for months.
This is true. I disappear off the face of the planet.
He disappears completely. You don't know what happened to him.
End up in some random country.
Yeah, so we saw each other in Marbella about 3 months ago.
Yep, that was good.
And not so long after that, you sent me a picture of you in a hospital bed.
This is, yeah.
So basically, explain what happened to you.
Yeah, a bit of a life changer, really. Tom just being Tom, I think. It's just one of those things that popped up out of the blue. But yeah, so I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, of all things. So that was quite a life-changing moment. You know, being a man, obviously, tried to just, troop through it. I had symptoms, kind of looking back on it now, when we were in Marbella, so there were symptoms of kind of the onset of type 1 diabetes.
Oh, you had those symptoms back then, so what were they?
Yeah, just like certain things, like certain fatigue, like, because it was all related to my blood sugar level. So there was, elements of time where I was just fatigued. There was elements, when my blood sugars were too high because I was having too many carbohydrates, where I'd be super thirsty and I just couldn't get rehydrated no matter how much I drank water, going to the bathroom. And just, the biggest thing was just like my emotions and how I felt. I just generally felt run down, even if I had like a holiday and I was relaxing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, probably the onset of that, there's probably like an 18-month period where I probably had issues with my blood sugars, and it now all kind of makes sense in the way that if I had like a cheat meal with a huge amount of carbohydrates, I would feel really, really shit the next day. And
the next day?
Yeah.
But before being diagnosed,
it
was just a symptom of it?
That was a symptom of it. I would have had issues with my blood sugars, but again, being a man, just kind of not going to the hospital, seeking help.
So you just figured that's normal.
It's normal.
That's nothing.
Yeah, fatigue. I was, I'm a very healthy person. I live a very healthy lifestyle, but there were still elements I felt like I wasn't recovering as good as I should.
Yeah.
I use Garmin, and my recovery levels, I felt like I'd sleep all right, but still feel quite fatigued. Rehydration was always a problem. Yeah,
something that's probably gonna come up in the comments and stuff is like, yeah, but he's using steroids, so that's probably because of that.
No.
And that's also like, at first, when you sent me that photo, I was like, fuck, that's the gear I use.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely, obviously that was my initial thought as well. I'm like, you know, when I was laying in hospital, I'm like, oh, is this something that I've done because of use of, you know, PEDs at certain points? You know, comes to find out that it's genetic. So because I've actually lived such a healthy lifestyle, you know, and I still believe that, you know, PEDs used in a right way can actually help you. You know, the reason why they're called PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, you know, can be very beneficial to your lifestyle. And for me, been hugely beneficial with my, you know, just my general performance levels. You know, I feel much better. I can train a lot. Really only in the last 18 months that, you know, I had more fatigue than I thought I would, but I just thought that was age or, you know, stress or lifestyle. You know, we're living through a pandemic. There was a lot going on. So, you know, new job, breaking up with a partner, all these things kind of you know, accumulated, and I just thought it was part and parcel of it. But no, it's a genetic thing. My family, my mum's side has it. My mum's side is also Indigenous Australian on that side as well. So genetically, Indigenous Australians are, you know, I think 3 or 4 times higher chance of getting type 1 diabetes.
That's crazy.
Which is, yeah, genetics, man. And, you know, it's there's 2 sides of it. Is one, it's completely out of my control and there's nothing I can do. It's genetics, it just happens. And because I live such a healthy lifestyle, and that's the second side of it, and I actually kind of delayed it, and I kind of somehow for 18 months managed it, and then it just got to a point within a 2-week period my pancreas said no. My pancreas stops.
That's the crazy thing, is that if you don't have such a healthy lifestyle, it will come up a lot earlier than that.
Yeah, and it is. Sometimes it is, and you know, really, I wasn't ever going to beat it, and it's not something you can kind of, you know, with a lifestyle and healthy lifestyle, beat it. But even now I have it, like, it's not a bigger deal for me because, you know, the way I eat, training's really beneficial for it. Obviously more carbohydrates. Anytime I have a carbohydrate, I'll get a, you know, blood sugar hit. So that means I have to have more insulin. Because I can kind of already understand my nutrition, I already understand lifestyle, or also understand kind of my body much more, you know, better than a normal person, a general population person. It's actually not been a huge adjustment. Yeah, lifestyle, and there's new things that I have to do, but, you know, all in all, it's not that big of a deal for me.
So yeah, to recap on that, so if you have a bad lifestyle but you have the genetics to develop it because it runs in your family, it can just happen from one day to the next. And if someone, like, what kind of symptoms did you get primarily that someone might have, not being a hypochondriac, but being alert that something might be wrong and they might need to double check that before it actually happens?
So there's a couple different things, because definitely there's type 2 diabetes, which is purely lifestyle based.
I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna have a quick look if it still runs, because I'm scared of shit.
Still running. So there's type 2 diabetes, which is obviously something that is genetic based. So that's lifestyle controlled. So type 2 diabetes is purely lifestyle driven. So if you're eating crap, if you're, you know, you get to a point where you're in an obese category, chances are you're going to develop type 2 diabetes.
But type 2,
yeah, type 2.
But I've seen type 2 is also, or could also be related to genetics.
It is, but it's reversible.
It's reversible.
Yeah, type 2 is reversible. So your pancreas doesn't stop secreting insulin. It just, you can through lifestyle, healthy living, training, all those sort of things, you can reverse it. Type 1 is non-reversible. So it just got to a point, my pancreas now will never ever secrete insulin to a degree. It still does, but it's the way that it kind of works, and I'm still kind of learning as well kind of how that works. But, you know, type 1 will be just, it's, you know, the real symptoms of it came in like a 2-week period. So this is what you need to watch, because I actually ended up my kidneys nearly failed because I should have gone to hospital earlier. You know, severe dehydration, so I just could not get hydrated. I was going to the bathroom, you know, every hour, couple hours, like severe craving for carbohydrates. So, you know, in the evening I'd be so hungry and all I wanted to do was eat, and I could eat you know, for example, one day I came home on the weekend, I ate like 3 pizzas and I was still hungry. It was just like,
fuck,
because your blood sugar, but you know, your blood sugar is so high and it's burning so much glycogen that it keeps needing carbohydrates, or you just feel constantly hungry. So you know, that was, you know, really the main symptoms for me, you know, during the onset of it was going to the bathroom way too frequently. You know, at the back end of it, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd go to the toilet. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd go to the toilet. So then I just wasn't sleeping, I was up. I couldn't get hydrated no matter what I tried, and just really, really hungry. Because I left it so long, then I started getting kidney pains, which was then causing me you know, extreme pain. Started, you know, urinating, urinating blood, and then also like a stinging, because you go into ketosis, you also start kind of releasing you know, kind of acetone, so it starts burning your penis pretty much. So that was uncomfortable. So once it started, you know, peeing blood, I think that was time for me to go to the hospital.
Yeah, that's a big red flag.
I was just like, hey, there's something wrong here. So
so
yeah,
you peed actual blood, like,
yeah, there's blood coming out of my urine, but that was more really related to, because of everything that was going on, a lot of my vital organs were starting to shut down and things like that, because I didn't go to hospital early enough. So
so the D-Day, basically, when you said, well, that's too much, like I need to do something about it, you said you fainted.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Yeah. So I woke up. I had a meeting for work in the morning. I was in the UK. I was supposed to go down. It was like a 3-hour drive. I was supposed to meet my boss at like 6 a.m. at the office to go for this drive. I got up. I literally had not slept that night. Probably had maybe an hour sleep, because I was up, down.
Yeah.
Blood over that night period started obviously coming out, and I was like, oh, this is not good. So I called my boss. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm really, really sick. I think I'm going to have to go to A&E.
So what?
A&E.
What's that?
Like ER, to the hospital.
The emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was getting ready, so I decided, all right, well, I better get ready. I'm going to just, like, you know, get all my stuff ready, have a shower, get cleaned up, because, you know, I'm not sure what French hospitals are like, but they generally are there for a long time. You're like going to be sitting there, and I was just like, oh, this is not going to be fun. So got cleaned up, and I was, you know, having a shower, got out of the shower, and then just passed out.
Passed out
just
like
passed
this,
out, just
out of the blue. Just fell down.
Just fell down. I remember kind of stepping out, and then after that I just can't remember anything, and it was probably about a 30-minute period from kind of just a time frame of when I spoke to my boss to having a shower.
That's crazy. You fainted, so you passed out, and you were alone.
Yeah, I lived in an apartment by myself, so yeah, it was dangerous.
That's scary.
It is
Even
scary.
me, like I live by myself, and sometimes it's scary. It's just like, if something happens, you're alone.
Yeah, there's no one to help you. So woke up. At that point, I was like, because I was thinking I was just going to get an Uber to the hospital. I was like, yeah, I may have to call someone here. So I called the emergency, and they kind of said that someone would come. Kind of waited for about an hour. Someone called me back, like an ER nurse, and then they sent an ambulance around. And then the guy pricked me, and kind of like a standard blood sugar reading is anywhere in between like 5 and 10. Mine was like 55.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty high.
So like basically, to make it simple, when you have your blood sugar is way too high, it's because your insulin level is way too low, and it doesn't do the job of dropping your blood sugar level.
Insulin on a daily basis, you eat a carbohydrate, you'll get a blood sugar spike, your pancreas will release that insulin, and then that blood sugar level will just regulate automatically. And it's all automatic, and it's just done automatically. And that obviously, because there was no insulin, that was just getting higher and higher. Obviously, if I didn't eat, then it would obviously decrease naturally. But even with that, it was just ridiculously high. So I think it was one of the highest readings that guy had seen. So when they brought you to the hospital, they did a lot of tests. Yeah. And what came out?
Yeah,
so pretty much they took me in the ambulance. I didn't really know what was going on. They didn't really say anything. They were just testing everything. Rolled me in. They did blood tests. So obviously just pricking my fingers. They put all the catheters in as well. I had each arm, and they were just testing me for everything. you know, after they test me, they kind of just roll me around, plop me in a chair. I'm just kind of like sitting there for 45 minutes, no idea what's going on. I'm just like, hey, what's going on?
And how did you feel at that time?
Felt really, like, biggest thing is like my kidneys at that point. I thought like I was just in a lot of agony. Also, I think it was because I didn't know what was going on that I was like, I think I'm dying or something. But yeah, so once I'm kind of sitting there, and then the nurses come in and like, oh, they take me to this room, and then they just drop it on me like, oh yeah, so you've got type 1 diabetes.
Like, what?
Like, I was just like, and then this is what you're gonna have to do for the rest of life. And they give me like a 20-minute rundown on how I'm supposed to regulate. But they were like, yeah, you're gonna have to stay into the hospital again for the next three-ish or 2-ish days, depending on, just to sort out my kidneys, sort out my blood sugar levels, making sure there's no sort of like fluctuation. And then they just hooked me up to a lot of like an IV, insulin IV.
For it to regulate by itself?
Yeah.
Oh, so that works.
Yeah, so it's just in an IV bag, and then other antibiotics just to kind of fix my kidneys, and then also help with my urinary tract because that was infected and stuff like that.
Fuck.
Yeah.
So when you were peeing, it was hurting?
It was burning like a
bastard. Okay, so then you did those 3-4 days at the hospital.
Yep.
And then now, obviously, it's the first time I see you since, and I've seen you with your little pocket. You have this on you all the time.
Yeah, so it's wherever I go now. So
so how does that work now?
Yeah, so my new daily routine, I'm very fortunate. It's not like a massive disability. There's a lot of life changes, and I should be a lot more kind of regulated with food and what I do and my lifestyle, which is again not too big. But in the morning I'll get up, I'll prick myself, I'll measure my blood sugars.
So when you say you prick yourself, it's like that little tool that you...
Yeah, I've got it's a little white one. So at the moment, it's like a little white dagger. I kind of just put it into my finger, has a little release. It'll just prick the top of my finger.
So blood can come out.
Blood comes out, and I've got a little monitor that has a little like strip, and then I just hold it to that, measure that, and then so that gives me my blood sugar levels. And then depending on that, I'll always have an insulin shot, but I might have more. So in the morning, first thing, I'll have a long Easter insulin. That is more of a kind of a long, slow burn insulin over.
So in the morning, you have to do that, the slow insulin throughout the day.
Yeah.
So that's not enough, actually.
No. So that will help it, and that's kind of more of a slow release, and it doesn't really help. Like if I'm having any carbs with any food, it won't kind of help bring that back down as quick as it should. So then throughout the day, if I have a meal, with my lifestyle at the moment, I'm just doing intermittent fasting because
so obviously you have to adjust.
Yeah.
Because if you were still like on a bodybuilding diet, you would be eating 5-6 times a day.
Yeah.
So obviously that shows a lot of blood sugar spikes. So you would have to inject insulin like 6 times a day.
Yeah,
if you were to do that.
Yeah. If it was a bodybuilding with carbohydrates and even protein, you get spikes from both carbohydrates and protein as well. So, so fats, if I was purely doing like a keto style bodybuilding 5 meals a day, then I could get away with it, but it's just not realistic to do that sort of diet.
Without using much carbs.
Yeah. Something
interesting though now, thinking about it, is on someone that doesn't have any issues with diabetes, but is using a 6 meal a day diet for years.
Yeah.
Is it gonna fatigue your pancreas faster?
That's a good question. It won't fatigue, but there is a level of insulin sensitivity. So it's something that kind of it's really interested me now more that because of the fact that I am using insulin and how that can insulin and blood sugars can affect your body. So long-term high carbohydrate multiple meals a day can actually have a lot of negative impacts on your body due to the fact that you do get sensitive to insulin. So your body will not process carbohydrates how it should do and use them as a particular energy source. So for me, even for general population, it is being aware of your blood sugars and your insulin sensitivity can be something that might be really beneficial. And it's even if you're doing periods of, and this is a benefit of intermittent fasting as well, is the ability to regulate your insulin and regulate your blood sugar. So I'm always been a big fan of intermittent fasting, but this is really kind of doubling down. And unless you're competing for a particular bodybuilding federation and you're trying to put on size, really a more holistic view on your nutrition should be using less carbohydrates, using intermittent fasting, and even if you are doing a bodybuilding show, once you've done that, doing some intermittent fasting or some sort of lower carbohydrate to help regulate your insulin levels.
That's really interesting, because since you've got that, I'm the type of guy, hypochondriac, like I'm scared of shit for nothing.
Yeah.
If I have the slightest symptom, I think I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And so when you said that, I was like, holy shit. Like sometimes I just pee a lot, sometimes I feel dehydrated, but I'm like, yeah, come on man, like, just step back. You have nothing such as. And I looked through my whole family to make sure, because I was like, well, the same shit can happen to me, because I'm turning 33. I've had a very healthy lifestyle, but what if I've just made it longer for it to just arrive?
Yeah.
But in the end, I'm pretty sure no one in my family has it, so there's not a chance I got it. But regarding like type 2, even if that happens, you can reverse it.
You can reverse
so meaning if you have, even if in your family that runs type 2, let's say you have a family, like sometimes people are just like hiding behind genetics and I would say mediocrity, because the whole family is fat because they have a shitty lifestyle, so they think they have to follow the same shit, and they're like, yeah, well, my whole family is fat, so I'm fat, that's normal, that's my genetic, that's how I am. Absolutely not. And if they have type 2 diabetes, doesn't mean you have to have it too. And maybe you'll get it because of your shitty lifestyle choices, but you could reverse that. So that's actually a very good news. Like if sometimes, if you go down a path that is super unhealthy and at some point something really bad happened to you, you have to go to the hospital. Oh, so what? Fireman? If you have to go to the hospital because something crazy like this happened to you, they'll be telling you, oh, you have type 2, you've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and you'll be like, oh, my life is over. But it's actually a good news. It's basically a signal that you've been shit, and you can actually reverse it. So that's the main thing about type 1 and type 2, because type 1 obviously you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, but I think it really reinforces my belief that, because I've lived such a healthy, regimented lifestyle, it doesn't matter what disease I get, I have the ability to overcome the disease, and it's easier for me. So for example, if my brother, I love my brother, but he drinks a lot, he smokes a lot, he has a very unhealthy lifestyle. So if this was going to happen to him with that unhealthy lifestyle, the changes for him would be more extreme, and there'll be more that he would have to put his body through to get better. So it doesn't matter, and it doesn't, if you get cancer, if you get any sort of genetic or autoimmune based disease, the more healthy you've lived in that period before it, the easier it is to overcome it. And for me, that's really reinforced my belief in health and fitness and wellness. For the fact is, because I've lived it, and because I've had that regimen, and training is amazing for me, it makes me feel great, but on top of that, it actually keeps me alive, really does keep me alive, in a sense that it really helps with my type 1 diabetes. And the change for me isn't actually that big. I've always had a good nutritional focus on in my life. It's easy, I balance. Yes, I have times I have fun, like we're in not Porto, Lisbon at the moment, and I had some pizza last night, had a little bit of insulin, but that's fine. It's I have such a good balance, and my day-to-day routine is so great that the changes aren't that big to me. And because I've always maintained a low body fat percentage, aerobically I'm fit, my anaerobic fitness is great, I'm strong, I've got strong ligaments, all these things. I put such a focus in through my 20s that now any illness that pops up, I believe I can absolutely dominate it and show it who's boss, and not be dominated by the illness.
Interesting.
So that's how I really focus on it. I'm just like, not only if you can focus now, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, and we don't know what illness and what things, you know, going to pop up, but no matter what illness or disease I get, I know that I'm going to be able to overcome that for the basis that I have such a good foundation to build it off. And no matter what, and with this, it's like nutrition's great, which is good for my illness. My lifestyle is generally good. You know, I prioritize sleep. You know, I try to remove as much stress. You know, training is really good. So all these things that were part of my lifestyle has actually made my type 1 diabetes transition in my new life so much easier. So really reinforces, and just like, you just don't know what your life's going to be, and you don't want to be fat, you don't want to be overweight, you don't want to have a shit lifestyle, you don't want to be sleeping like a, you know, a shit person, because you don't know tomorrow you might wake up with type 1 diabetes or cancer or something that you have zero control over. That, you know, if you had those already poor habits and poor routines and poor you know, lifestyle choices, will make your life even harder when you get those things. But for me, you know, I'm lucky that I've spent like a huge amount of time on my health. So yeah, apart from jabbing myself 4 times a day, like, yeah, it's pretty easy.
I like that a lot, actually, because nowadays you have to accept everyone. You have to be tolerant with everybody. Like, not talking about the number of genders and all this shit, but rather the shape of people in general, and putting forward fat people, like in lingerie or stuff like that. Even Gymshark is putting like fat people forward. I think this is a terrible mistake, because for these people, they've never had that kind of disease, so they think, oh, that's okay to be fat. But the day they wake up with a type 1 diabetes, then exactly what you said is going to happen. Their life is going to turn to shit, because the difference they're going to have to make in their lifestyle is going to be so huge that they might never come back from it.
Exactly. The lifestyle changes they'll have to make is dramatic. For me, literally the only thing that changed for me is the fact that I now have to inject myself with insulin.
Plus, that's not something you got from an unhealthy choice you made. That's purely genetics, so that can happen to any of us. So in order to prevent that, or to activate it later, or to make our life easier within that fucking challenge, is to fucking stay fit, or be fit, become fit, wherever you start your journey, wherever you start it from. Fucking, that's the main lesson from this, is people, you guys, if you don't train today, you fucking have to do it before that kind of disease just shows up out of nowhere.
100%. And there's, we live in a world that, the things will pop up, and if you are healthy and fit, and well, if you're healthy and you can make changes right now, make the changes right now, because you just don't know when something's going to happen. And like me, is, within a 2-day space, my life completely changed. And there is severe long-term health issues that can arise because of my type 1 diabetes, but I'm going to do my best to control those things. Like, I can go blind because of it's something that happens a lot with diabetes. Because the high blood sugars can make you go blind. Losing limbs because of the fact that if you get sick because it's autoimmune, you got a higher chance of infection, your limb can get infected, gangrene, things like that as well. I'll generally get sicker because again, it's autoimmune. If I get sick, my blood sugar is going to go all over the place, my insulin won't be able to cope, and I have to come off insulin if I'm getting sick, so I'll be sicker for more periods of time. But I can control a lot of that by lifestyle. I can make more impact on that by having a better lifestyle. But the reality is that my life expectancy does dramatically decrease, but I know that I can limit a lot of those things purely by lifestyle choices.
I like that a lot. That's hopefully going to push people a lot on this, because fuck, man, that's very inspiring, because I can't imagine being touched by this. It's always easier to see other people being touched by this, because deep down you think that it only happens to the others. It never happens to you.
100%. 30, I was healthy, have an amazing job, lived a really cool life, had pretty much everything like that I've ever wanted. Have so much more planned in the next 10 years, but within a split second my life completely changed.
And you have nothing, there's nothing you can do
zero I can do about it.
Yeah, that's the crazy part, is even like it's the same shit as being in a car accident if you didn't drive and it's the fault of the other car.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
You did everything you could, everything in your power, your health choices were good, but some idiots just fucking bump into you and
you make all the right choices and yeah, you do all the right things, and then it just it is what it is.
Damn,
but
man.
again, I'm really fortunate. You know, I get to train, I get to do the things that I'm passionate about. I can still travel, I can still go to the gym, and it's really good for me. So you know, it puts more of an emphasis on being healthy and living a holistic, healthy
even
life.
more aware of the food you eat, the lifestyle you have.
Yeah, it's for me, it's it's kind of there behind me, pushing me to be better constantly. Okay. Not a negative.
I think it's a very good sentence to end it on. Very cool story, Tommy boy. That's I want to like highlight this kind of stuff because, like I was saying, it only happens to others until it happens to you. Yeah, 100%. And then you don't know how to react from it. But in order to prevent most disease, because this is one of the ones that there's nothing you can do about. Yep. But most disease, there's a lot you can do about to prevent
100%.
It by lifestyle choices and by the fact that you go to the gym every day. Even my mom says, oh, you're too extreme with your gym training, you're an addict. I'm like, but would you rather I'm a fucking cocaine meathead addict, or I just go to the gym? She's like, yeah, sure, but this is still extreme. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Because everything I do is obviously going to improve my health. Yeah. And by doing this, I have my chance rate of actually catching one of those diseases is much lower than the person that eats shit. Yep. And that's funny because every time I go to grocery shopping, even though I don't really do it anymore because I use Carrefour Drive, much easier, much faster. But when you go with your little caddy and you look at other people's ones, what they are buying, it's fucking scary. It is. Because most people will hide behind excuses and genetics. Yeah. But it starts with this. Yeah. 100%. What you put in your mouth. Even if you don't work out, most people eat shit, and that's, man, it's overwhelming because everybody hides behind so many excuses all the time. I eat well. Well, show me actually what you eat. And sometimes there's a fucking packet of cookies hanging around, and it's like one packet every couple days. Like, dude, obviously there's something you do wrong. A lot of people that don't have visible abs, and they're wondering why. I've been training for so long. Well, look at your training, but look at your fucking diet, because this is what matters most. And by doing this properly, those things implement everything in your lifestyle. That's not so difficult. Like, I talked it through in another podcast, and we said, like, the tripod, literally your sleep, your training, your diet are the three main founders of your lifestyle. And if you have just those three, everything else becomes so much easier. And you can be healthy a lot longer, and maybe live until you're 100 years old. Who knows? That'll be really good.
Completely agree.
Thanks for this.
No worries.
You still don't have Instagram, so people can't find you anywhere.
It's coming, I promise. It's coming. It's coming.
Bullshit, it's coming.
One day it will be here.
One day.
And the next podcast, it'll be here.
Hopefully, yeah.
Merci beaucoup, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
I'm going to end it up in French real quick. So, merci à tous d'avoir écouté jusque-là. J'espère que ça n'a pas été trop compliqué à comprendre. N'hésitez pas à le réécouter si besoin. C'est une histoire qui est hyper impactante. Comme je disais, on a l'impression que ça arrive toujours aux autres jusqu'à ce que ça nous arrive à nous. Et là, étant proche de lui, ça m'a choqué littéralement son histoire. Et voilà, donc laissez une review 5 étoiles sur Spotify. Pensez bien à le faire, c'est hyper important de laisser des reviews, que ce soit juste 5 étoiles sur Spotify ou une review écrite sur Apple Podcast. Ou le mieux que vous puissiez faire, c'est partager ce podcast avec simplement une personne. Et le fait de, si tout le monde le fait, ne serait-ce qu'une seule personne, vous le repartagez en story ou autre, ça augmente votre statut parce que ça montre que vous écoutez quelque chose d'intéressant, autre chose que de la musique, mais quelque chose qui va vous rendre meilleur dans votre vie. Donc ça a de l'impact positif, ça va montrer aux autres que vous êtes dans une démarche de développement personnel, et ça c'est cool, ça vaut de l'or. Et si jamais vous faites ça dans votre story, ça peut doubler mon audience. Donc merci à tous, on se retrouve bientôt next week. Peace.